Clair Obscur Expedition 33. 6 months later, 5 million copies sold, and it just broke every convention the gaming industry thought was absolute. A 30% plus team from France delivered what every AAA studio can only dream of: 9.6 user rating on Metacritic, possibly the highest ever, along with 93% critic score. From the first trailers, you could tell that this was something special, and when the full game dropped in April, it exceeded every expectation. This masterpiece let everyone's jaws open with a single question: how did they do it? Two strategic decisions turned this game from great to Game of the Year frontrunner, and I'll tell you what they are in a minute, but to understand them, we need to start with Ubisoft. In 2019, Guillaume Broche and Tom Guillermin were deep in the Ubisoft machine, working on major franchises like Ghost Recon and The Division. Inspired by the games they loved, they had their own passion projects and innovative game concepts. Projects that would never get greenlit at Ubisoft, a developer known for its repetitive, formulaic, and risk-averse franchises. Frustrated by these creative handcuffs and corporate mandates, they left Ubisoft and founded Sandfall Interactive. They made the strategic decision to build games at Sandfall with a small, agile core team instead of a large in-house studio, leveraging contract workers where needed. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Broche used unconventional recruiting methods, including online forums and community outreach, to build their team. This attracted talent like lead writer Jennifer Swedberg-Yen and composer Lorient Tostad, who prioritized creative passion over corporate pedigree. Fast forward to 2023, and in the middle of development, they made a choice most teams avoid. They switched engines from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5. This brought challenges, especially in lighting and plugin compatibility, forcing extensive reworks and cost. A major breakthrough came in March of 2023 when Sandfall finalized their co-ownership publishing deal with Kepler Interactive. This partnership provided funding to expand from 12 to over 30 developers, invest in new offices, motion capture studios, and arrange voice talent like Andy Serkis, Charlie Cox, Jennifer English, and Ben Starr, while maintaining creative autonomy through Kepler's unique equity sharing model. By 2025, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 announced a Day 1 Game Pass, with Xbox heavily featuring it in their January developer showcase. The project went gold in March 2025, leading to the successful April launch that would redefine what's possible in modern game development. 5 years ago, Sandfall didn't exist. Today, its debut title Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a Game of the Year frontrunner, highlighting key efficiencies in their developmental process. Let me show you the numbers that will blow your mind. Starting with 12 developers in 2020, Sandfall achieved what typically requires 200-person teams. By 2025, their 30-person core team delivered photorealistic visuals with an estimated budget of 30 to 50 million. That's 75% less than comparable AAA RPG budgets. These games require massive marketing. For example, AC Shadows had an influencer budget of 1.5 million plus, while Expedition 33 spent only $212,000, demonstrating Sandfall's focused development with clear priorities. They had a clear vision and scope set by Guillaume Broche and lead writer Jennifer Swedberg-Yen. In game development, you will see multiple stakeholders try to define the scope. Devs want to make it fun, execs need microtransactions, etc. This creates feature bloat and misplaced priorities. With Clair Obscur Expedition 33, there was no feature bloat or misplaced priorities. Sandfall's focus scope eliminated any artificial inflation. Kepler Interactive's partnership enabled scaling without typical productivity drops. The studio maintained a small team philosophy, 30 core people with strategic outsourcing. This avoided bureaucratic overhead, which impacts larger productions. But following all the best practices in the world doesn't produce a Game of the Year frontrunner. This brings me to the two strategic decisions I mentioned earlier that really transformed this game: adopting a unique hiring strategy and recognizing when they needed to pivot. Jennifer Swedberg-Yen, the lead writer, transitioned from mergers, acquisitions, and private equity to game development during the pandemic. She responded to Guillaume Broche's Reddit post seeking voice actors for Clair Obscur Expedition 33's early demo, eventually evolving from voice actor to lead writer through her narrative skills and involvement. That involvement directly influenced the project's shift from a relatively conventional steampunk adventure to a more ambitious, thematically rich Belle Epoque setting and a refocused narrative based on deep emotional emotional and philosophical themes. This shift transformed the narrative of the game into a deeply cathartic adventure that probes the meaning of memory, mortality, identity, and collective trauma. This emotional resonance was amplified by the hauntingly beautiful soundtrack. Lorien Tostard, the composer who was found on a niche music platform, would go on to create one of the most amazing music soundtracks in years, with 154 tracks for the game. Tostard assigned specific instruments to reflect character personalities and used the human voice as a centric sonic element, crafting melodies that carry both narrative and emotional meaning through song lyrics and motifs. His compositions, a blend of classical, jazz, and modern cinematic influences, is in my view instrumental in transforming the game from a technically accomplished RPG into emotionally and artistically impactful work. There is a world full of people who are talented and ready, well beyond the traditional hiring realms of job sites and LinkedIn. People who are innovative, brave, creative, and always willing to try new things, especially when something is working. Expedition 33's development history showcased strategic pivotal decisions that most studios would avoid. Two major pivots defined their approach: the mid-development transition to Unreal Engine 5 and the complete aesthetic shift to a French Belle Epoque setting. The UE5 transition in 2022 exemplified calculated risk-taking. While most studios avoid mid-development engine switches due to technical debt and timeline risk, Sandfall recognized that UE5's nanite virtualized geometry and lumen global illumination would eliminate months of traditional optimization work. They leveraged procedural tools like Houdini to overcome resource constraints, using its node-based workflows to automate asset creation and enable rapid iteration. The gambit paid off. UE5 gives Expedition 33 a AAA feel and look, giving it cinematic presence, especially with the setting and art style. The Belle Epoque art style setting pivot represented equally strategic market positioning. Moving away from the oversaturated steampunk aesthetic allowed Expedition 33 to occupy a unique visual space in the RPG market. This shift allowed for character-driven storylines, allegorical motifs, and a greater emphasis on emotional and psychological nuance. This period-specific choice provided rich cultural context for the game's philosophical themes, while differentiating it from others like The Order 1886 and Assassin's Creed Syndicate that dominated the Victorian setting space. I'm sure other studios are looking at Sandfall's story and thinking, if we just copy that approach, we'll be successful. If only it were that simple. However, most will find greater success by following these core lessons. Sandfall's 30-person team succeeded through disciplined scope management. Most studios fail from scope creep, not lack of talent. Unlike bloated AAA productions that expand scope through committee decisions, they maintain disciplined focus on their core vision. Sandfall's success came from saying no to features that didn't directly enhance their philosophical narrative focus. The Jennifer Swedberg-Yen and Lorien Tostard discoveries weren't accidents. They were systematic searches for aligned creative vision. Similarly, their partnership with Kepler Interactive provided publishing support without creative interference. Most studios fail by prioritizing availability over alignment. Sandfall prioritized cultural fit and shared artistic vision over traditional credentials. Forget portfolios and CVs. Sandfall's approach demonstrates the competitive advantage of hiring for vision alignment and growth potential, then developing skills internally. The UE5 engine switch and Belle Epoque aesthetic pivots required admitting initial approaches weren't optimal. Most studios suffer from sunk cost fallacy, continuing failed approaches because of invested time and resources. Sandfall treated pivots as strategic course corrections, not admissions of failure. They established clear metrics for when to pivot, technical limitations, blocking creative vision, market positioning disadvantages, or resource allocation inefficiencies. So here's what Sandfall really teaches us. The gaming industry's biggest assumptions about scale, talent, and development are fundamentally broken. While AAA studios burn through 200+ million budgets and 500-person teams to deliver formulaic experiences, a 30-person French team just redefined what's possible with strategic focus, unconventional talent acquisition, and calculated risk-taking. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 didn't just succeed because of only UE5 or Belle Epoque aesthetics. It succeeded because Sandfall built systematic decision-making processes that prioritize long-term vision over short-term conveniences. they created organizational systems that enable strategic pivots rather than suffering from sunk cost fallacies. Jennifer Swedberg-Yen from finance to lead writer. Lorien Tostad from niche music platforms to Game of the Year caliber composer. This isn't luck, it's calculated talent arbitrage. While competitors fight over the same LinkedIn profile, Sandfall systematically identified aligned creative vision in unconventional places. The studios that will creatively dominate the most decade won't be those with the biggest budgets or the most developers. They'll be the ones that build processes for strategic decision making, talent identification beyond traditional challenges, and disciplined scope management. Sandfall didn't just make a Game of the Year game, they proved that strategic thinking beats resource throwing every single time. But what do you think? Was Sandfall just lucky with Clair Obscur Expedition 33, or do you think their next title will be just as successful? Let me know in the comments below. And if this analysis helped you see game development differently, subscribe for more strategic breakdowns on gaming's biggest success stories. Click here to see if Silksong's success means that it is still an indie game. And click here to see how ex-Witcher devs are creating a new studio with a brand new RPG. Until next time.